What's up, Broncos country, and welcome to another episode of your favorite Denver Bronco YouTube channel, Keep Your Eye on the Ball. My name is Adam, and as always, I'll be bringing you all the content, all the ideas, and all the discussion that's at the front of the minds of everybody in Broncos country, from the mind of a journalist, but the heart of a true blue diehard Bronco fan. As always, remember to like, remember to share, remember to subscribe, remember to leave comments, remember to buy me presents. I haven't seen anything come by the doorstep in a couple weeks. I'm just saying. And as you've noticed, we've changed locales, and we've had to move recording back to the spacious and luxurious Keep Your Eye on the Ball studios, otherwise known as my man cave. It's not ideal, but I needed a quiet place to record. And man, when you have a toddler and just a lot of stuff going on, you need a quiet place. This is the quietest I could find. So this week, I got a great show for you guys. I'm super excited to bring you some of these topics. First one being, we're gonna cover who was the best draft pick in this year's class, not named Bo Nix. Not because we dislike Bo Nix, it's just everybody's talking about Bo Nix. We'll also give my thoughts on who I thought maybe was a questionable pick. Maybe. We'll also go into discussion about the Cortland Sutton situation, and is that a negative or a plus for him and the team? And I'll give you my thoughts on the recent schedule release. And as always, let's salsa into the episode. Does that work? Does that work? I don't know. So as we move on to our first segment of the show, we're gonna call this Adam's Draft Review without talking about Bo Nix. I won't talk about Bo Nix just because I kind of look at things from a different point of view, and I'm sure everybody else already has their opinions on Bo Nix, and we may cover that in another show. I basically wanted to give you my thoughts on the rest of the draft that was not being mentioned as much. So my choice for the best draft pick that Denver made in this year's draft was outside linebacker Jonah Elliss from Utah that we took in the third round. He comes to a position group that doesn't have a ton of depth. Yes, we have good starters in Baron Browning and Jonathan Cooper. We also have a guy with a lot of potential and a guy that's been using kind of as a pass rush specialist on third down in Nick Benito. They were planning on moving inside linebacker Drew Sanders to outside, where he played in college, and then he goes down with an Achilles injury. So basically, it's going to be a four-man rotation if Elliss kind of slides in where I think he will. From seeing him play a ton at Utah, this guy has a motor and he has college production, which are two things that I like in my defensive players. I want to see that they can produce at close to an NFL level, and I want to see that they have a lot of effort. Vance Joseph also emphasizes that he likes guys that can rally to the ball. So you combine those things, and I think Elliss is going to make a great pick. I can see him starting slow and getting acclimated to the NFL, and then really coming on strong down the end. And he may even earn maybe some first team reps here and there. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I do think that he's going to be a contributor for our team this season and past that. Now, because we have to, if we're being fair and we're being balanced, we have to do our most questionable pick. And this is one of those times where, like, I hate being the voice of opposition in this, but my choice for most questionable pick is, man, don't yell at me. Actually, go ahead and yell at me. Yell at me in the comments. Is Audric Estime, running back from Notre Dame. Why do I feel that way? Well, it's important to remember that you can find a productive running back in just about any phase of the draft, whether it be first round, second round, third round, free agent, whatever. Prime example of that is Jaleel McLaughlin, a contributor who was an undrafted rookie free agent. But the Broncos already have three running backs. They have Javonte Williams, who should be fully recovered from his ACL injury. They have Samaje Perine, who is a great backup running back and a great pass protector on third downs. And they have McLaughlin, who's their change of pace back and their speed back. Estime fits none of those categories. At this point, Estime is only a first and second round running back. And you already have two guys like that in Perine and Williams. He also is a little behind in his pass pro and his pass receiving skill set, which means he doesn't really figure in on third down. Also, from being a starter at Notre Dame, didn't have a ton of time being a special teams contributor. He doesn't have the kind of skill set that you would want to see out of a 3-down running back or a guy that can fill a contributing part in like a running back by committee. So I'm also not crazy on how big he is. Like, if you look at him, he looks like a bodybuilder, and he is a very impressive physical specimen, but he has a very, very physical running style that I think almost he looks for contact a little too much. He doesn't have a great burst, and he's not a north and south runner. He's not a one cut and go. He is very much grab the ball, find somebody to hit, and get through it. And that works in college. It's not going to work in the pros. So I just feel like, and I also need to point out that he also is going to go in for a knee scope. He's scheduled to miss OTAs. He's scheduled to miss minicamp. He will be back in time for training camp, but it just doesn't feel like it's a pick that really works out right now, for me anyway. So moving right along, we also have news about Cortland Sutton. It was reported that Sutton, who did sit out the first part of voluntary team workouts, was now going to sit out OTAs. Is this a big deal? Now, I'll be really honest, I understand from his point of view, he has a very finite amount of time to make as much money as he can, and with all of his guaranteed money being basically already paid out, he doesn't have a whole lot of security going into this season with Denver. So I see that from his point of view. However, George Paton and co seem to be playing their cards very close to the vest when it comes to this, and all they've really said about the situation is that Cortland is in a good place, and that's it. That the lines of communication are open, but that's it. So what do I think about the whole thing? I don't think it's an issue right now. I don't know that he gets too much out of voluntary workouts right now or OTAs. So I don't see it as being a big issue now. If it extends into training camp, I could see it being a bit of a distraction. And also, he's one of our team captains. He's probably our best wide receiver. It would be a loss if he's not there in camp with the team. Now, along with not having a whole lot of security, Sutton also doesn't have a whole lot of leverage for those same reasons in training camp. So I don't think he's gonna miss, but if it does end up getting ugly, which it has all the potential to be right now, I could easily see where he doesn't. But I think for the most part, what I really see happening is, especially if this is a rebuilding year, I think Sutton is basically going to be playing up until the deadline, at which time Denver will probably find another team for him. It's a way for them to recoup some draft capital back for him and not let him go in free agency for anything or for nothing. It does suck, but this is also the business of the business, and unfortunately these things happen. So anybody who knows me knows I hate mock drafts. I hate mock drafts. And Adam, you ask, why do you hate mock drafts? I'll tell you, children, this is why I hate mock drafts. Because it takes a hypothetical situation and projects it out way too far for something that may or may not even happen. So with that being said, I also hate predictions based on schedule releases. Because again, we know nothing about these teams right now. So it's very hard to say Denver will go blah, blah, blah when we haven't snapped the ball yet for any regular season game. But that doesn't mean that there aren't some highlights on the schedule that I think will be very interesting and we need to pay attention to. The first of these being Week 1 versus Seattle. Obviously, the home opener on the road in front of a hostile crowd with probably a rookie quarterback starting for us. You add all those together, and it is not a recipe for success. That first game is going to tell us a lot about what the season's going to look like. I think if this is a rebuilding year, I expect to maybe not see the crispest game that Denver has put out there. Let's just say I don't like I said, I don't want to say, yeah, we're going to go in there and lose, but it's going to be a very tough game. Now, we move on to week number 2, which brings back the homecoming of erstwhile Russell Wilson, who will be playing for the Pittsburgh Steelers. If he beats out Justin Fields, he will be the starter coming into the home opener. It's a big deal because, let's face it, if we booed Russ as a Bronco, I don't think you're going to expect to see the warmest welcome for him when he comes in wearing black and gold. Again, I got nothing against Russ personally. I got nothing against him as a Bronco. It's very much just a business decision, but it's going to be an emotional game. It'll be an emotional game for Denver, and it'll be an emotional game for Russ, I can imagine. Now, we move on to week number 5, which is the first meeting between the Broncos and the Raiders. Obviously, we finally got over the hump with the Chiefs last season. We finally beat them at home to get off of this crazy losing streak to them. However, we now have a new losing streak to an equally despisable team in the Raiders. Now, while this hasn't led to any kind of playoff success, for Vegas, it still sucks losing the last 3 years in successive attempts to them. So you can imagine this will be the first crack at them. Hopefully we get one at home. That's all I'm going to say. And the last thing that I will point out is the bye week comes very, very late in the season, and it comes with just 4 games after that, with 2 of those being massive divisional games if we're in it, against the Chargers and the Chiefs. You hate seeing the bye that late in the year because let's say you're playing with a lot of momentum and you're reeling off some wins, and then everything hits full stop. You got to go into the bye week. And especially that kills momentum going into the Los Angeles game versus the Chargers, a tough game versus the Bengals, and then finally finishing off the season at home versus the Chiefs, which always figures to be a tough match whenever you're going up against Mahomes. So I'm not a fan of the bye being that late, but it is what it is, and unfortunately, that's the hand the schedule makers dealt us. So that wraps up this week's show. I apologize for not getting these out on a more consistent basis. It's just life right now, so unfortunately, I haven't been able to do on this. Now that we're in the summer, I will be trying to get something out on a more consistent basis. I will also be putting the links for my Twitter, my Instagram, and my Facebook, and my blog in there. As always, I give updates on TikTok. I give updates on Twitter or X or whatever they're calling it nowadays, so you can find me there too. I am so appreciative of everybody that follows me, everybody that leaves me comments, likes, all of that, because I love interacting with you, even the trolls that hide under their bridge. I like you guys too, because frankly, you're still watching the channel, you're still interacting with the channel, you're still putting me in the algorithm for other people to watch the channel, so thanks. But I truly enjoy doing these, and I am just blown away by the support that I've gotten so far. So with that being said, I wish all of you a great week. Remember to like, remember to share, remember to subscribe, remember to buy me presents, and as always, keep your eye on the ball, and I'll talk to you next time.